Firecall, the fire safety show with Division Chief Jim Sedaris.
Hi, my name is Division Chief Jim Sedaris, and you're watching Firecall. This is a show from Sioux Falls Fire Rescue all about what goes on behind the scenes of a fire department. Now, we're located in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, heart of the Midwest. It gets cold here in the wintertime and hot like today in the summertime. We're going to talk about a whole lot of things today, but we've got to answer some of your questions. Now, when you email me a question and I answer it, I'm going to send you a t-shirt, your very own Sioux Falls Fire Rescue t-shirt. So let's get right to these questions because there are some pretty good questions this month. Actually, a lot of questions this month. First question is, this is from Jamie. Jamie lives in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And the question is, when the alarm goes off, about how long does it take to leave the firehouse? Hey, this is a pretty critical thing, Jamie. When that tone goes off, when the alarms go off, we want to be out as fast as possible. And we time that. We're just like a NASCAR pit crew. Everything from where the gear is kept to the way our buildings are designed to get us out as fast as we can. Our time, we try and get up and out within 1 minute. Now that's a 24-hour time, so if you're at home at bed at 2 in the morning and someone flips on your lights and gives you an address and tells you what the emergency is, we would expect you to be able to get fully dressed, down the truck, start the truck, and be rolling in 1 minute. And we time that, and that's what our goal is. And we keep pretty close to that. So, Jamie, I hope that one answers your question, and that'll give you something to think about when you're in the dead of winter, when you're trying to get up and get going. This question is kind of a neat question. It comes from Clinton. Clinton lives in, holy smokes, I don't even know how to say this, Havre de Grace, Maryland. And what Clinton wants to know is how many firefighters ride on each fire truck. Great question. Varies all over the country. What we do here in Sioux Falls is on our engine companies and our ladder trucks, we run 4 people on each truck. Now there's a reason for that. Every person on a fire apparatus has a job. So regardless if it's an EMS call or it's a fire call, we run 4 so that each person knows during the day what they do. On EMS call, like on a cardiac arrest, we have 1 person running the defib, 1 person doing compressions, switching out with another person, another person doing airway. That's 4 people. On a fire, we have 1 person in command, 1 person running the truck, another person securing the hydrant, another person pulling that first pre-connect, that first line out, getting that fire ready. So that's why we run with 4. Your department might be different, but we're sure happy with 4, and we like it that way. This is kind of a different question. This one comes from, I don't know, we have something going on with people in Maryland. This one comes from Michael. He lives in Silver Springs, Maryland. Michael collects fire department patches. One of the nicest in the nation right here, Mike. Wants to know how we can get one. Well, we used to trade patches on a regular basis, and people all over the country would trade patches. But since 9/11, things have really changed. And most departments now are really kind of clamping down and giving out their patches. Simply because when your department gets to be about 200 people, sometimes you don't recognize everybody. So someone could put on your department patch and show up at a fire scene, show up at a station, you really want to know who they are. So we don't give out patches, Mike, but better than a patch, you get a t-shirt. And our last question for, and this is going to kind of kick off into part of the show, this one comes from Jack. Jack lives in Sioux Falls. Wants to know what the difference is between a hazardous material call and a normal fire call. Well, Jack, a couple things we think about when we go on a hazardous materials call. That can be anything from a liquid vapor spill to a gasoline spill to some type of pesticide, as we keep 3 things in our mind. We want to stay uphill because the product won't, if it's a liquid, won't go uphill. We want to keep the wind at our back so that that vapor is not going to be blowing across us and hurting us. And we also want to be thinking of wind at our back, uphill, and we also want to be thinking about what the product is and identifying it. Does it float? Does it sink? And that's going to lead us into one of our calls that we just had dealing with hazardous materials. Well, one of our questions is, because we're surrounded by water, is what happens when we get a spill in the river or any waterway? We have one going on right now. What happens is we need to determine a couple things. One thing is, does the product, the contaminant, float or sink? In this case, what we have is we have a petroleum product that's in the river, floating downriver, and we need to pick it up to prevent it from contaminating more of the river. So what we do is we determine how far ahead of it can we get, and we're ahead of this spill right now. And then what we'll do is we'll put a boom across. These are called booms, and they're an absorbent material. And all this is it's just it's like a big sock filled up with absorbent material, and we'll stretch this across the river or any waterway. As the product comes in contact with the boom, it's absorbed. It's specially designed to pick up petroleum products, and then we can safely clean this river up. And that's our first start, is to keep the spread of product from flowing downriver and causing further damage. So that's how we start this whole product, or the process of picking up a contaminated waterway with a fuel spill. I'm Scott Schultz, and what we're going to talk about is how we get lines across the river. And when we look at getting lines across the river, it's a simple thing. What we use is a line gun. These line guns came back from shooting lines across ships in the ocean to get lines all the way across. You shoot a light line, and then you can pull a heavier line across. It uses a round that will shoot a projectile, which is our projectile, and it will fire all the way across. There's different loads, and how far can we shoot? Do you remember?
I believe you can shoot up to 200 yards.
You bet. 200, and then with progressive loads, we can go quite a distance on this. So are you all ready to go, Scott?
Sure.
Okay. As he loads this, we want to make sure that everyone's safe across the other side. He loads it, and inside that cartridge is a long line, a lightweight line that will shoot out, and as that goes across, then we can pull a heavier line with it. So we're always trying to be safe. We want to make sure that there's no one downrange, because it's going to shoot that brass projectile all the way across. And that's all there is to it. Fires a line across, and depending on how far your line is, or how far your distance is, how much the line will go off. This is where the line comes out of. So as he fires this, projectile goes off, pulls this line out, and then depending on how big of a load he has, it will depend on how far out that projectile goes, and it keeps pulling this line out. The line can be cut, as they're doing now, and attached to a larger line, and then they can progressively pull heavier lines across